So the Cavs season is over. The Celtics are on their way to the conference finals, and the Oklahoma City Thunder just completely forgot how to shoot. Tons of stuff going on in the NBA right now, but let's first talk about the end of the season for Cleveland. We've known for a while that the Donovan Mitchell era is probably over, right? But as soon as Game 5 was over and that series was over, we got all kinds of information coming out about the future of the roster, Darius Garland potentially requesting a trade, a ton of stuff that we didn't know about until, of course, right after the game was over. The Celtics win Game 5. The last two games of the series were weirdly competitive through the first handful of quarters, despite no Donovan Mitchell, despite no Jared Allen. And it's interesting, the dynamic for Cleveland this offseason, because there are some reports that are saying that it's a distinct possibility that if Cleveland offers Donovan Mitchell this huge giant max contract that no other team can offer him, that he would return, that he would sign the extension. And that's the pivot point of all of this, by the way. Like, Donovan Mitchell is a 2025 free agent, but his situation is going to get resolved this offseason because Cleveland's not going to go into the year with him on an expiring and risk either him leaving for nothing or not getting as much for him at the deadline. If he tells them, hey, I'm not going to sign the extension, that's pretty much all they need to know that this guy is not going to be on the team next year. And apparently, there are a handful of teams that are very prepared for this and already have their Donovan Mitchell trade offers ready. The Lakers, the Nets, the Heat, the Miami Hawks have been thrown out there. A handful of other teams as well. These teams are ready to go, and it's clear that they have been preparing for this, what seems like inevitability. There can be any kind of report or rumor or anything out there about how Donovan Mitchell might sign the extension. I really, really think it is such a small possibility that Donovan Mitchell begins next season on the Cavaliers roster. But that, to me, honestly, isn't even the most interesting part because it feels like that has been the case for a while. We're getting all these other rumors, too, about how Darius Garland, if Mitchell returns, might request a trade. He might request a trade anyway. How Evan Mobley didn't want to be in Cleveland in the first place. The future of Jared Allen, they're mad because he didn't play through the pain. Like, there's so much stuff happening here. Let's begin with the Garland stuff. Darius Garland's kind of been the forgotten guy in Cleveland. The year before they traded for Donovan Mitchell, he was awesome. He was the only competent guard that they had on the roster that could create, that could do all this different stuff, and he was amazing. This season, kind of a lost year for him. Now, part of that could be, the drama around Mitchell. That's hard to deal with. Obviously, doesn't have the ball nearly as much as he did the year before Mitchell got there. The other thing that people just kind of gloss over, though, about the bad Darius Garland season is that he broke his jaw in the middle of the year, had some personal stuff going on as well, and couldn't eat solid foods, lost a ton of weight. I'm still very much in on Darius Garland. I think he's very, very good. It's hard to break your jaw in the middle of a season and have your diet be completely changed and then get right back into it and then get prepared for the playoffs and be really good. That's just my personal take. I think it would be very hard for me to do anything after breaking my jaw and then be in a really competitive environment immediately after. That's just me. I'm still very much in on Darius Garland. And it seems like Darius Garland might be very much out on the Cleveland Cavaliers. It might be you got to pick one kind of a situation. And that's just not where I thought Cleveland was going to be. I thought Cleveland was going to be, okay, we got to try and keep Mitchell. If he doesn't want to stay, then okay, we'll figure some other stuff out. A lot of other factors going on here at the moment as well. So, I can't imagine that they would actually trade Darius Garland, one, because I don't think Mitchell's going to stay, and two, not a ton of leverage there for him. I just can't foresee that as being a real option. It's fine that he's letting them know that he's not unbelievably happy, especially if Mitchell returns. But still, at the end of the day, I really, really don't think they're going to trade Darius Garland. What I do think is possible, though, are some significant changes within the roster and the coaching staff for Cleveland next season. JB Bickerstaff is the coach. Obviously, this is as far as they've gone in the postseason since LeBron left in 2018. Very cool. I think that there's a sense and a feeling that JB maybe isn't the right fit as coach, maybe not a very good coach in the first place, that they could potentially upgrade at that spot. And especially if they're going through some significant changes and Donovan Mitchell leaves, that feels like a good point at which to move on from the coach as well. Seems like Jared Allen is relatively likely to be moved because we saw what Evan Mobley could do at the 5 spot. I think it's become more clear than ever that Evan Mobley at the 5 is the correct answer in the long term for the Cleveland Cavaliers. And obviously, having Jared Allen there prevents that from happening. The other thing is, Jared Allen's very good. He's technically borderline all-star, not necessarily an all-star. Obviously, that kind of gets mixed up depending on how good the conference is in each particular season. But Jared Allen is very good. He's a very, very high-level starting 5. And so, for one, Cleveland might not want to make that decision this offseason. They might want to continue to try and do the two big thing in the front court, or they can get a good amount of stuff from Jared Allen. There's a lot of teams around the league that need a big, that need what Jared Allen can provide, and I think they're going to have some significant offers out there for him. If I had to guess what's going to happen this offseason in Cleveland, I think Donovan Mitchell's getting traded. At that point, I think Bickerstaff's probably going to get fired, or they're going to move on, whatever the case may be. And I think Jared Allen's probably getting moved as well. And then Cleveland goes into next year. They've got Garland, they've got Mobley, they got whatever they got in exchange in the Donovan Mitchell trade. And something similar to that structure was a really good team the year before Donovan Mitchell got there. Like, I don't think that this is the sky is falling by any means for Cleveland. That was the whole reasoning behind the Mitchell trade in the first place, was like, yeah, we're sending out some future picks, but like, even if this doesn't work and he wants to leave in 2 seasons, we have this young core of guys around him that we feel really good about. And so that's my guess for what's going to happen in Cleveland. But based strictly off of these reports right after the game, apparently things are way crazier there than any of us had any idea about. Other game last night, I want to talk about Mavs Thunder Game 5. The Thunder lose Game 5 at home in a game that was really never all that competitive. Like, Dallas was up 8 to 15 points for like basically the entire game. And it's just crazy how much things can change within a postseason series for a team, because the thing about Oklahoma City all season long was they were the best shooting team in the league. They got up a ton of shots from 3. SGA did everything in the mid-range. They would get, lobs and stuff at the rim because of their spacing, but like, they would play in transition and they made a ton of threes, especially at home. They're a really good home team, especially scoring wise. And that has just completely fallen apart for OKC in this playoff series. Their only offensive options right now are let SGA create for us and make some tough twos. And Dallas is rotating towards him, but they're not really completely collapsing on him in the way that it just gets wide open threes for everyone else, because SGA can't get all the way to the rim. And it's really, really interesting how, a week and a half ago, OKC was this up and coming, oh my gosh, this exciting offensive team, and now they just can't score, right? And a lot of that has to do, obviously, with the difference in shot making from the regular to the postseason. I think it's very possible it's a cold slump, it's Dallas's defense, it's the playoffs, it's the environment being different. All those things combine for OKC to not shoot the ball well. It doesn't mean they can't shoot, doesn't mean that their regular season numbers were a fluke. It just hasn't worked out for them in the series, and all credit to the Dallas defense. And it looks like, Dallas going back home for Game 6, obviously they have lost at home in this series, but they've also looked really good at certain points in the series. And I don't know really what OKC's options are from a schematic standpoint. They finally went away from Josh Giddey in the starting lineup. They started Isaiah Joe. They went to Aaron Wiggins. They ultimately finished the game with Cason Wallace and had him play a ton, which I still think is the right decision. Unfortunately, he went 1 for 8 from 3 last night, so that certainly doesn't help their spacing at all. I'm not really sure what other adjustments OKC can make other than shoot the ball better. They're built around shooting well from 3 and having all this spacing, playing a little bit smaller, obviously having a skinnier guy at the 5 in Chet, having a lot of perimeter guys out there. They're based on 5 out, being able to space the floor, being able to make shots. They're not making shots. It's just really, really difficult to evaluate the series in any other way. And Dallas feels more flexible. They feel more malleable. They feel like a team that has other options. In one game, it can be the PJ Washington game. In another, it can be the Luka game. In another, it can be, hey, Derrick Jones is going to score 20 points in this game. It feels like they have more options to go to within their roster, where they can play the guards more, they can play the bigs more. They have more margin for error because they're better on the glass. They're shooting the ball better so far in the series. So really, again, not to be reductive, I said this in a previous video. If OKC shoots the ball well, I think they have a great chance in Game 6 and Game 7. If they don't, Dallas is going to be in the conference finals, which is honestly pretty cool, because I think they match up decently well with, as we're recording this video, we don't know if it's Denver or Minnesota. Pretty interesting matchup for them either way, because that size and that strength that they used against Oklahoma City isn't going to be as much of an advantage, but it's certainly going to be at least an option for them against 2 teams in either Denver or Minnesota that certainly rely on their size in the front court as well. And then, in terms of backcourt and stars and creators, they probably have an advantage over a team like Denver with just Jamal Murray, or a team like Minnesota with just Anthony Edwards, because they've got 2 guys. They've got Kyrie and Luka, although Kyrie hasn't had a fantastic scoring series. So ultimately, really interested in how Dallas continues to finish out this series, whether Oklahoma City is able to bring it back. But mostly, the theme of the day today certainly was the weird and crazy rumors coming out of Cleveland, and that's everything that happened in the NBA yesterday.